Hello all, so we're going to have a look at this 20 marker on more than one method. It's a very, very, very old A-level question, but it came up before the specification changed. So it is quite likely you might get it. And again, it is a much more challenging question. So again, it's got reference to the item. You have to have the item, otherwise you can't get above 3 for AO2, and you have to reference 2 studies. Explain why researchers use more than one method. So, as always, I'm going to start with theory. The theory section, and the first thing I'm going to do is offer them a definition. So, the use of more than one method is called triangulation. The use of more than one method is called triangulation. Methodological pluralism is when more than one method is used, but they are qualitative. So again, bracket it, they're qualitative, so expressed in text or words. I'm going to put expressed, not to be lazy. Expressed in text or words. Methodological pluralism is when more than one method is used, but they are qualitative, expressed in text or words, and quantitative. Again, expressed in numbers, or no, expressed in numerical. Oops, it's getting delayed. Numerical, statistical form. This means a researcher can take both a macro, large scale, large scale approach to establish patterns and trends, and they can also look at individual meaning attached to actions. So basically, where I'd normally go, positivists like it because of this, but interpretativists would say you can't do this. I'm just going to morph it together. And that will be paragraph 1. Again, it pleases an examiner to see a definition because that's what they want to see. They know you would have read the mark schemes, and to start with theory. Also, they will be impressed you will have put methodological pluralism and triangulation, that you know what they are and you have used them. So then we're going to go to practical issues. Practical is always time, money, access. So unusual, but I'm going to go this side. The use of more than one method or triangulation. I'm going to keep using the question though, because it does say more than one method. The use of more than one method or triangulation can be very time consuming. We can see in the item, it started, I know you haven't got it there, but in the item it said it started in 2009. And it took a number of years to complete. That's just lifted from the item. It took a number of years to complete. This highlights that the use of more than one method is incredibly time consuming. That's really the hint the item's given me. It took a number of years. It started in 2009, and it highlights that the use of those multiple methods is incredibly time consuming. Multiple methods also have a significant amount of cost, particularly to pay for interviewers or to contact respondents via post. So I'm kind of just pushing that in there, that ultimately they can also have a huge additional cost as well if we have to pay for interviewers, or if you're going to keep contacting respondents at regular intervals, contact respondents at regular intervals via post. Got time, got money covered, access. The use of more than one method can mean you can access very large samples. We're going into the study here. So for example, Holden could have used the item there, but I chose not to. So for Holden, in his study of debt at university, using a questionnaire and focus groups and interviews. So using questionnaire, focus groups and interviews means he can access different groups of people. Increasing his sample size or increasing the sample size, thus increasing representativeness, the ability to account for differences, and generalizability, to apply results or make a claim. Always show you know what they mean. I know I say repeat myself a lot, but please do. It will make an examiner think, am I going to give them 12 for AO1 or should I give them 10? If you bracket the terms, you make it very clear you are 12 out of 12 for AO1. And you've got the item and you've got a study, so you're already 2/3 of the way there for your AO2. Okay. Paragraph 1. Got my study, got the item covered, so I'm feeling good. Right, ethical issues. So more than, I need to keep focusing on more than one method. Let's just check this what the question is. When many researchers use more than one method. When researchers use more than one method, the trickiness of this is to keep coming back to this. On the really hard 20s, you have to keep coming back to the question, keep kind of pushing it in. The use of more than one method still means you need to adhere to the British Sociological Association's guidelines. I know when we plan it, we just put the SAG, British Sociological Association, SBA, sorry. But when you write it out fully. So British Sociological Association's guidelines. We still have to adhere to British Sociological Association's guidelines. We still need to provide anonymity. So the use of no names and confidentiality. No personal details. We can also provide pseudonyms, or fake names. This increases the validity of all the methods used. This increases the validity of all of the multiple methods used. See how I'm trying to kind of push it back round to my same normal structure, because you've seen quite a few of these. But this increases the validity of the multiple methods used, to keep trying to reference the question, as respondents know they will be protected from harm as their identities are hidden. So we've got those ones. In there, I also note that in Jackson's study of lad culture at university, she uses multiple methods. Please don't misgender her. She's a professor who is also female, but she uses multiple methods that include secondary sources from the NUS data. So I know I previously used her for secondary sources, but she does use multiple methods, and as part of those multiple methods include secondary sources for the NUS data. This means the questions asked in both her interviews and focus groups. This means the questions asked in both her interviews and focus groups are prompted by the secondary sources, and these can be checked for validity or accuracy. So basically, she uses the interviews and the focus groups to check whether the secondary sources and the results of those secondary sources are accurate. So again, I've got another study there. We're only supposed to have 2. You can use more if you want, if it helps you. It would never hinder you. I'm also just trying to show you, that's very dark. I'm also trying to show you different ways to use these studies, because if you get it, you can use it in how I've done it, or you can, be a bit more creative, but definitely use her that way. However, for that side, still for ethical, kind of gone off a little bit into validity, but it doesn't matter too much. So in the ethical side, however, I'm going to say that if with the use of multiple methods, we still offer the right to withdraw, and this still decreases the representativeness and the ability to generalize or apply results. Quite chunky paragraph there, but if we do give ethical codes in all of the multiple methods used, hint, hint, then we're still going to lower our rep and gem. So I've got a paragraph on theory, paragraph on access to, paragraph 3, that big ethical one. Rep and gem, a little bit repetitive here, but for rep and gem, we're going to argue that with methodological pluralism, or again, multiple methods, with methodological pluralism or multiple methods, with the use of quantitative methods like questionnaires, go easier first, questionnaires and structured interviews. So with the use of methodological pluralism and some quantitative methods as part of that, with questionnaires or structured interviews with closed questions, these methods are quick to complete. They're really quick to complete, which means you can access larger sample sizes, meaning you can represent different groups and generalize results. I don't feel like I need to bracket those terms. I think I've covered that already. I am kind of repeating my point, but I'm linking it to the methodological pluralism and the quantitative elements of methodological pluralism. And I've just developed it. It's the closed questions that make it quick, that make it much larger, that make it more representative. I've referenced larger samples here because you're doing more than one method, so you're more likely to capture more people. So it's a slightly different point, but still coming back to rep and gem. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so we've got rep and gem that side. However, if we use triangulation, which are all qualitative methods, because triangulation can be 3 methods, but they could be all qualitative. If we use triangulation and they're all qualitative with open questions, these are very time consuming and therefore have much lower sample sizes and therefore not as representative So you can't generalize or apply results as much. Okay, rep and gem paragraph. Remember that all together is one paragraph. Okay, validity. If the multiple methods include methods, say methods a lot, methods with open question, these are more valid. So it uses multiple methods with open question, these are much more valid. Open questions mean respondents don't have to approximate answers. They don't have to approximate answers. If there's an interview, it often means you can build a rapport or a relationship, making respondents more comfortable, making respondents much more comfortable, and it can increase Verstehen or deep understanding. So if the most multiple methods do include methods with open questions, they're going to be much more valid. Open questions, much more comfortable, deep understanding or Verstehen. If it uses a focus group, then these are much more natural and other respondents can prompt answers. So I've kind of gone off just generally about qualitative methods if they're used in multiple methods being really valid. So I've kind of gone off a little bit, but it's all methodologically sound. But I'm also going to say that multiple methods data can be checked to ensure the validity. So basically, you can use multiple methods and their data to check the validity, to check they are really accurate. So, on my evaluation side for validity, I'm going to say, however, if as part of those multiple methods, they are all interviews, there's still an issue with an interviewer effect. Where the researcher's characteristics can be an interview effect where the researcher's characteristics have an impact on the validity. So just to remind you, we don't need it, but for Dobash and Dobash, they're a husband and wife team. She took his name when they got married, which is a choice. But husband and wife team, when they do research, sadly, they do studies on domestic violence. If the victim is male and the perpetrator was male, then she does the interviews because she's aware of the interviewer effect. If the victim is female and the perpetrator is male, she also conducts the interviews. So they're aware of the interviewer effect having an impact on validity. Also, we don't want to trigger somebody talking about a really harrowing traumatic event either. So you've got Dobash there, maybe just as a reference, again, just to give you some idea about how to incorporate studies. If we use interviews, there's still going to be an issue with an interviewer effect. And there might be an issue with interpretation of the results. I might interpret it in a way that wasn't really intended. So validity studies, I've already got 1 study, 2 studies, continue with my greenish colour, and item. You don't get more marks for including a study more than once, but you need to be 2 separate studies. But the other E, just to remind you, is examples. That is done, covered. Remember, plan these, they're really tricky. So reliability, nice and short and sweet this one normally is. So if the multiple methods use methods with closed questions like a structured interview or questionnaire, you're likely to get the same or similar results in future. However, can't got the energy to put that aside. However, this is not the case if all of the multiple methods have open questions, as you're unlikely. So this is not the case if those multiple methods all have open questions. It's unlikely that you'll be able to get reliable data in future. Okay, more than one method. Please plan it in the exam. It's really important that you use the studies and you use the item. So you lift something from it and say something about multiple methods in some way, shape or form. Any questions, please do let me know. And if I don't see you, good luck.